So a very warm good evening to all of you on this very amazing session on Shiksha. I'm Bhagyashree, your moderator for this session. And of course, we know the topic for today's session is career prospects after bachelor's in design. What after that? I'm sure a lot of you have these queries like we did a graduation, but is fashion designing the only option? What else we can explore in that? What other options we have? What are the institutes that we can explore? So there are a lot of questions that students have in mind, right? And to answer these and to help you and to guide you, we have two very eminent people from that field. So let me welcome Bhavna Kapoor, ma'am, Professor, NIFT Delhi. Ma'am, thank you so much for being with us here on the panel today. And of course, we have Sunidhi Bhatnagar, current student at NIFT Hyderabad, and of course, someone who is gaining that experience and someone who is spreading out that experience and knowledge. So two different aspects on the same platform would be a wonderful thing to share for the next 60 minutes. So ma'am, would like to start with you. Firstly, extending my warm welcome to you again.
Thank you.
And
pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I'm sure students are here to just to gain that experience and to gain that knowledge that you cater to students. And some of them who are a bit confused about what to look after this. And some of them are getting enrolled for the 3-year course and probably going ahead. And Sunidhi was already into that process and like currently like in the last year, and she'll be like getting a lot of experience, practical hands-on thing. So Sunidhi, thank you so much again for being with us here on the session.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So let us just start off with a very basic question, ma'am. Like there is this thing like what should a student do in a course in design? When we talk about design, there are a lot of aspects connected to it. So if you can just briefly start with that.
Okay. I think the first thing to understand is what is design. When we think in terms of design, most of us would actually think in terms of fashion design, would think in terms of glamour, would think in terms of ramp walks, of fashion weeks, a lot of glam, good-looking models. I mean, that is the kind of attitude which a lot of people would have. Design is a thought process. You could be a designer without having to create a product. You could be creating ideas. You could be creating concepts. You could be creating factories. I mean, it's not really a hardcore thing of a product that you have to be creating. So when we have students who are wanting to come into design, the first thing we actually have to do is get them down to ground reality, that what you're getting into is not about glamour. It's not about fashion shows. Design is everything. It's everything around you. So whether I'm looking at a product, whether I'm looking at how I'm living, whether I'm looking at vehicles, whether I'm looking at anything. So B.Design, a course of bachelor's in design, could mean anything. It could mean just understanding the design process, or as most of the universities in India have, you'll have something in front of it. So there'll be a B.Design apparel or B.Design textile or something like that, which makes it a little more specific.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that very well explains, like design is not just about fashion designing. It's about the whole lot of thing that you see around it. I think everything has some or the other concept of design, be it any product, be it anything, like anything around us could have the design. So Nidhi, you have been like studying in NIFT, and I think probably you're in the last year, and you definitely have got some kind of experience, practical training. So what kind of specializations are you pursuing, and what kind of experience you are having out of that?
So in NIFT Hyderabad, there are around 6 courses. And the one that I am pursuing, my major is knitwear designing, and my minor is lifestyle and accessory design, which is accessory design. And other than that, there are several other courses. For example, fashion design. Then there is lifestyle and accessory design. Then there's knitwear design. There's textile design. There is leather design. and several other courses that we have in our at NIFT. And so we study a lot of things, from design thinking to practically making those clothes, and the industry experiences. I mean, it's my third year. My third year is going to end right now, and I am doing my industry internship right now. So when you think of design, it's mostly like we'd be sitting inside our fashion houses and making outfits and things like that. But right now, what we are learning here is we're going to industries where we learn how to dye, how to make cloths from cotton, and we get to learn everything from the basics to, I mean, from the raw material from cottons to the real cloth, and then designing that. So there are a lot of things that come under designing, and this is what we've been doing.
Right. So you could say that from scratch to the final output, everything is there included, and you get to learn each and everything out of that. Absolutely. And when we okay, we are getting questions also. I'll definitely take up your questions. So someone here is saying that career prospects of textile design, and if doing masters is better, before working or having some kind of work experience, and then you do a master's. What is like ideal, ma'am? What would you like to suggest on that?
There is no thumb rule on that. Look, there are two schools of thought that go. One which says, and I'm switching to Hindi for just a second.
Sure.
Abhi padhai kar rahe ho, padhai karte raho. You're doing your bachelor's, go ahead, go for your master's in the flow, you'll be able to complete your qualifications. The other school of thought is that what you have studied in the bachelor's is a lot of book knowledge. Till you can actually understand how it applies in the industry, there's no point doing a further qualification. So, I mean, both schools of thought, there's nothing wrong in both. There would be people who would prefer to go for a master's almost immediately. There would be people who would prefer to have industry experience and then go for a master's. It also depends on what kind of master's we're doing. Am I going for a master's in the same subject? So am I going for an B.Des? Or am I going for, let's say, an MBA? So I want to kind of just, take that management stream and go ahead with that, so that, you've got a lot of industries prefer the MBAs with the background knowledge of the product. There are people who do that as well. So it is up to each student, or in fact, every family, how they want to think about it. There are some students that we have, and I speak from almost 26 years of experience teaching in NIFT. We have students who would not be able to do a master's. I mean, they're more hands-on.
Right.
You give them anything, like, for example, like Suniti said, she's doing knitwear design. You give them a knitting machine and they'll create wonders. Their thought process goes in that manner. You give them a MBA theory paper to read and they're just not going to be able to achieve much. And then there are the students who are more into the theory part of it and more into the studies part of it, and they want to go further. Doing a master's, not a bad idea. In the industry in India, personally, I don't see the relevance, and that's a personal opinion. Because the industry in India is not that focused on the paper qualification of a design person. They go by your work. They'll go by your portfolio. So if your portfolio is solid, your work is solid, their paper qualification, only the corporates go for it. So you're going for the big brands, they might look at a child, she's done a master's from XYZ Institute. The others will not. The others will not. So, I mean, if I have, let's say, any brand which is doing, let's say, domestic product, they're not going to be so engrossed with your paper qualifications. They will look at what work you are able to give them.
Yeah.
So post-graduation or any further studies in that field after a BDes is a personal choice.
Yeah.
And it should be actually seen in a larger perspective of what you want to do in your life further. It's not about what I can do 2 years down the line.
Yeah.
And Bhagyashree, having said that,
Yeah.
anybody who is getting into a design field today, you cannot predict what that field is going to be like 4 years down the line.
Absolutely.
You know, preparing well in advance कि अच्छा 4 साल ये, उसके बाद I will do 2 years of this, उसके बाद 3 years of this. We can keep planning. But if another COVID comes, then there is no planning.
We pray that there's not. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Sunidhi, what would you like to add? Because like after graduation, like almost you'll be completing your graduation and you've started already taking practical experience. So what are your plans? Like, do you look forward of taking up work, or do you look forward to study, ahead, or taking up more degrees in this?
Okay, so I've been working since my second year only.
Okay.
And I've been working for Urbanic as a fashion stylist and then fashion influencer. Then I've been working for Myntra
Right.
from my second year, and then like as a graphic designer also, which is not exactly my stream, but I've been doing different kind of work since my second year.
Right.
So I think I've been gaining some industry knowledge since some time now. So I think I have been planning this. I don't know how is it going to go further, but then I think I'll be pursuing my master's,
Okay.
probably in fashion management sort of thing. I'll apply and let's see how it
Right.
goes.
So I think the experience does work and does helps a lot of things when you pursue studies. Right. All right. That's great. Okay. So another student is saying, what after BDes pursue further MDes UI designing? Okay, or go for job. I think ma'am just answered that it completely has two other options. Like, completely up to you whether you want to take up job and gain some experience and then get into that. So it's Manmohan Bhatia. So Manmohan, I think it's completely up to you, right? Okay, let me just come to some more question. Is there any communication design course in NIFT? Ma'am, if you would like to answer that.
Yes. So we have in NIFT, Sunidhi did count out some of the courses. In design, we have at undergraduate level, we have 6 courses. So we have fashion design, we have leather, we have textile design, we have knitwear design, and we have fashion communication and accessory design. So that's 6. Now, fashion communication, what we call fashion communication, a lot of other institutes tend to call it communication design. So it is the same thing. It is not mass communication. It is about understanding how to communicate the language of fashion. So we, in fashion communication, we have different deepening specializations. So you can get into the writing part of it, the journalism, advertising kind of part. You can get into UI UX, which is completely different in terms of what is happening in the world today. And you can get into photography and videography and so on and so forth. So fashion communication is a course that we do have, and we've had it for some time, where the students are learning about communication as a design tool. Yeah.
And just adding a part to it, ma'am, like they're also asking, like, what does exactly fashion communication has as in syllabus, the teaching part, and what are the job scopes also, like the kind of options, career options they have?
Okay. I can only talk about NIFT curriculum, honestly speaking. Like I said, communication design is offered by communication design is offered by a lot of universities and a lot of colleges across the world. So it is not something which is unique to us. What we tend to do is to understand what we are doing. Again, Sunidhi had mentioned it, but I'd like to just sum it up. In NIFT, we have the system that you have one major and one minor. So your major could be like Sunidhi has. She has knitwear design as a major, and she has accessory design as a minor. So minor ke kuch papers you are doing along with your major's papers. Not just that, within your major, you have the DS, which is your deepening specialization. So in fashion communication, they have the general papers of understanding communication and so on and so forth. How does the fashion communication business go ahead. There are certain papers that every student will be doing, for example, set design and exhibition design and so on and so forth. And then in deepening specializations, there is one deepening specialization that goes into the writing part. So that's journalism, advertising, and so on, which is very specific. Then we have one which goes into photography, videography, filmmaking, etc. And then we have a specialization that goes into the UI, UX, the IT field. Okay? To answer a question which I think I just saw, UI, UX is about technology? No. UI, UX, when we talk about UI, UX, it is user interface and user experience. It is not just about technology. When you go onto any website, when you go onto anything online, it is how you are able to interact. The first thing that you look at is colors, you look at design, you look at how things work, you look at how that thing is interacting with you. Sometimes you don't even go to certain sites because they're like, it's such a pain trying to find information there. Yeah, that's not about the technology part. The technology is the back end. The design is the front end. So yes, UI UX is a big thing right now, a huge thing, especially given the last 2 years where everything went online. UI UX is the thing right now. So yes, in communication, that is what we are doing. You could be a brilliant writer and not handle the camera very well. You could be a brilliant photographer and a disaster while putting together copyrights or copywriting, not copyrights, I'm sorry, copywriting. You could be really good at UI, UX and understanding IT tools and not be good at writing. So it's okay. So that's what the deepening does for you.
Absolutely.
So you have your majors, the minors, deepening, and then you have general electives, which are just building you up as personalities.
Absolutely.
Whole, the kind of experience of things like music and dance and theater. And so it's not just about studying about fashion. Now that's what NIFT does. Other institutes, the systems may be very, very different, and how they work with it is very different. Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of you who had queries regarding fashion communication, what does it teaches, what kind of scope it holds. So I think ma'am has explained the entire thing, that what you can look up to at NIFT, what exactly is there inside, and the kind of differences also, right? So I think that will really help you out, right? Okay, Sunidhi, I have a question for you, which comes from Sia, which is actually related to your particular course. And she wants to know, like, which one is the best course in designing, like between fashion designing and lifestyle and accessory designing? And what's the difference, she wants to know. And, how many courses can she choose out of these? So if you can like have a clarity on that.
Okay, so it depends on the person, what kind of interest they have. For example, I have interest in fashion and knitwear. So that is why I chose knitwear designing. So what we do is we learn about fashion also. And then we have, this is like fashion ke andar we study knitting. This is like a specialization. We study fashion also, fashion designing also, and then we study about knitwears also, very closely about knits, about the machines and everything, how the knitting works. So that is about, no, I cannot tell anybody if that person should be pursuing communications or knitwear designing or accessory designing. It depends on the person. Accessory design also has product designing. It's like designing products, furnitures, and then they have accessories, jewelry. So it depends on the person's interest, what kind of work they enjoy. I don't think I am the right person to tell them what should they pursue.
Right.
And what was the second question?
And how do they choose in between, out of these, like what kind of options they have, like if they have to choose, what are the criteria to choose? Like how did you choose this set of courses?
It was just purely on the basis of my interest, and I had interest in fashion and designing and knitwear.
Right.
So that is why I chose that. And other than that, I wanted to do some product designing sort of thing. So that is why I chose this thing in my second year. And then we don't choose this in our first year only. The minors we choose in our second year. Around that time, we have a little bit knowledge about what kind. I mean, we have teachers and then our seniors who are already working on those things. So we get to understand what knitwear designing is, what fashion designing is.
Yeah.
What I can suggest is you can just, everything is there on the NIFT website. If you really want to understand what communication design is, so you can always go and check those things out. What kind of things we learn in that, what kind of things we learn in knitwear, and then the career prospects also are there. So if you want to go thoroughly through that, then that would be an option, good option, sorry.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sunidhi, for that answer. Okay, I'll move to another question for ma'am. Ma'am, there are a lot of students who are asking about diploma courses in NIFT. Like, are there any diploma courses and how can they pursue about it?
So the diploma courses, our regular degree courses are 4 years for undergrad and 2 years for PG. Other than that, we have what we call our CE programs, which is continuing education. So those could be courses ranging from 3 months to 1 year. And these are certificate programs. These are not diplomas. The third category is diploma programs. So those are specific to certain campuses. We do not have a lot of them. The details, of course, will be on our website. So www.nift.ac.in. NIFT.ac.in. Thank you, Bhagishri. That really helps. So that you will be able to go to the website, and there that will give you the idea of the diploma courses. The question that you need to ask yourself, especially if you are getting into any kind of qualification, is how is that qualification going to help you? Is it really going to help just taking a diploma, or would you rather, really challenge yourself and try and get into a degree program? Because there are certain places, certain job profiles where you will require a graduation degree. In India, definitely you require a graduation degree, and the validity and whether that degree is recognized is a big thing. Because when we deal with students for post-graduation for admission, it is heartbreaking when you have certain students who've cleared everything, but at the last stage, when we do the verification of documents, we say your degree is not recognized in India. So when you are choosing a degree or you're choosing any kind of course, the important part is understand how that degree or diploma is going to get you recognized in that particular field. Doing a diploma in or a certificate program in design, in fashion design, in dressmaking, in anything like that, may add to your skill levels, but how it would apply or how it would add to your paper qualification is questionable. So that is something you need to be very clear on. Why am I doing it and from where am I doing it? There's a lot of institutes, a lot of them, and I would not like to name any, a lot of them in India where the validity of the degree is a question mark, where the degree is recognized within that state, but it is not recognized centrally outside of that state, where that degree may be from a foreign university, but the government of India does not recognize it. So those degrees, then you can't do anything. You want to get into IIM, you're not going to get into IIM, because if your degree is not recognized, you can't do anything further. So that, coming back to diplomas, go ahead. There will be limited numbers. And yes, in NIFT, we are planning to increase the number of diplomas, etc. So you can keep a watch out on that. Details on our website. But if you're planning a diploma to add to your qualification, think twice, because we don't know how much it will add to your qualification for any further studies.
Yeah. Right. And also I've shared link for both the campuses, though there are a lot of campuses around India, but particularly for Delhi and Hyderabad, I've shared the link and the official website. So if you have a question regarding any particular campus for NIFT, you can always get in touch with us. I think Shiksha has all the pages on the website regarding all the campuses. So the suitable location that you want to choose for NIFT, you can always refer to Shiksha and probably have the right guidance to get into the right, like what all admission process and everything is just mentioned over there. We keep on updating it. So don't worry on that. Okay, ma'am, just adding another part about student exchange programs, which a lot of them want to know, like Reem has just put up this question. I could see that question in Q&A also, like what all student exchange program does NIFT has?
So NIFT has a tie-up with about 34 universities all over the world. These tie-ups mean that they recognize our degree, and some of them we have a kind of MOU for exchange of students, etc. So they offer some short-term programs, some summer programs where the students get reduced rates for credits and so on and so forth. The one major one that we have is with FIT New York, where we have a dual degree program, which means that anybody who's selected for that, they complete 2 years of studies in NIFT, whichever campus. This is open to all NIFTians. For BDes particularly, they go for their 3rd year to New York. So for 1 year, they are studying in FIT New York. The credits, etc., are equalized. We also kind of give the guidance on what kind of courses they should take up there and so on and so forth. And then they come back to India for their 4th year. At the end of it, they have a degree of NIFT and they have an associate degree of FIT New York. So that is the major that one we have. This particular MOU is open to all students, regular students of NIFT, BDes program. And there's a long kind of selection procedure, the portfolio, there's a SOP, there is an interview, etc., etc. Because we'd like to send only those students to New York who are very interested and involved in the process, and B, students who will be a credit to both universities, not somebody who's just wanting to go to the US for the sake of US kind of thing. So yes, and yes, they go from all streams, whether they are going from accessory design or from leather or from fashion communication or from any other. So we have students going this year also. I think we have almost 18 students from NIFT Delhi. And all over, I think the numbers would be about 35 to 40 students who have gone and who will be coming back now in July. So they had gone last year in August and they come back in July this year. So yes, that is our major one. Other than that, we have these tie-ups with a lot of the universities abroad. And when there are special courses being offered, etc., NIFT students get the offers that they can come and do those courses and so on and so forth.
Right. Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. Navya will take up about that also. Like they are asking about, is it extra chargeable, and also particularly for any university in Milan?
Milan, we have a tie-up with one of the universities. I'm not sure of what courses the tie-up is for. You'll have to check that on our website. And for the payment part of it, there are certain universities where the students get a discount on the fees that is normally charged for international students. There are some where the fee is, so even for the FIT thing, the students have to pay for going there, obviously. I mean, it is on, but then for that 1 year, they're not paying in India. So that is how the thing goes. So different universities have a different kind of thing. Some of them offer, like, for example, that we have some universities which offer summer programs. And for the summer programs, which is about 4 to 5 weeks in the summer, these programs are at very highly subsidized rates for the NIFT students. So college to college, it differs. College to college as an institute globally. Within NIFT, any policy, any rule applies to all 17 campuses of NIFT. Our admission process is common. Your selection process is common. Everything is common. You're taught the same curriculum. Your examination policy is common. So everything is common. It's just that you're studying in a different location. So all benefits which come from external universities, it's not just Delhi or Hyderabad that will get it. Everybody will get it.
Right. Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. Coming to Sunidhi, Navya has a question for you. She is asking that since you started working during your second year, what was it like? How did you manage to, manage your exams, studies along with your work? So she just wants to know your whole experience on that.
I think it was easier for me because there was COVID. But then since my last 6 months, I have been working with college also. So I think it depends from person to person. I try to finish all my college work during my college hours. And then I take out some time. I mean, while others are chilling, that around that time I'm working. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I've been doing several jobs since last 2 years. So it just depends from person to person. If you want to work, you will find out your time to work with college.
Right. And just a very relevant question that I was like about to ask. And I think Sadhika over here has just put up that question. Like, when you decide to choose design as your career, so it's just that, is there any inborn skill sets that you recognize that, okay, I have the skill set and I could actually pursue my career in design, or there is something that you acquire through, studies and experience? So basically their question is, how do we decide that, okay, design is fit for my career and we have these qualities and I can choose design and go ahead in that? So how do you decide? What are those criterias?
This question is for me only.
For you, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, how did you take up? Like, you must have some idea on that.
Yeah. So I think, yes, definitely there are some skills that we need to to apply for this thing that you can always learn. If you think you want to get into a design college, or for that matter, any college, you always have to learn and do your bit to get into that college. Other than that, I think I always was interested in designing arts and painting, and I think I still discuss this with my family sometimes, that this is that one thing that I can do happily. If I think my parents wanted me to do some engineering, and I don't think I would have done it very happily. And we have our all-nighters, we have to work for days, we have our jury nights, when these 2 months everybody is working 24/7, on even on Sundays and nights and every time. So I think it's just this thing that I knew, this is that thing that I can happily do. If no, my parents don't have to force me, your finals are coming and you'll have to do this. So it was just my interest. I was always interested in creating new things and designing and colors and painting. So this is how I knew this is what I wanted to pursue. And then when I got a nice college, so everybody was happy and I was happy too, and I joined.
Right. So I think ma'am would also like to add something, like how that's Sunidhi's point of view, but like you have been teaching students and getting hold of so many minds across. So how do they judge? I mean, do they learn, or do they have those things, or have they just interest?
Look, a skill is something that you can develop.
Yeah.
But if you do not have the ability to literally think out of the box, you are never going to succeed in a creative field. Yeah. If you're going to do the same, so for example, we have had students who have been brilliant painters. Okay? Brilliant. But you see a painting and you're like, God, I mean, this is not a 17-year-old who's made this. Beautiful work and beautiful skill sets, but they can't think beyond that. Yeah. So it's not just about skill. It's about being creative. It's about being able to think outside of that box. It's about being able to absorb from your atmosphere and things that you're seeing around you, and being able to imbibe that and put it into your work. And I think Sunidhi's got that bang on, that passion is your key ingredient. You don't have the passion, you will not be able to do it. Like I started with, every student, or not, okay, let me be fair, 95% of the students that we get, their idea of design is, Arey, Sabyasachi and Samanchaha and, fashion shows. And you know how much work goes into making that fashion show? It's a nightmare. And when she says all-nighters, she's not joking. They are students, when they have their juries, hafta bhar, they're surviving on black coffee because you can't sleep, because your work has to be complete and it has to be of a certain level. And if you don't have that level, the jury is going to, well, not really tear you apart, but you're going to be told you are pretty useless and kuch nahi hoga tumhara, kind of thing, which is not something you want to get into. I'm not trying to scare you, but the reality is that this is one industry and one field which is highly underrated, highly underrated. We think of it in terms of glamour, in terms of fashion shows, in terms of, array, look at the beautiful jewelry piece of Tanishq, beautiful. But how many iterations went into getting that one earring right? Only the designer will be able to tell you. It is a tough field. It is things that we have seen students who have come and after 6 months said, nahi hoga, nahi ho sakta humse. We have seen students who, after, almost at the end of their first year are like, this is not what I wanted to get in. So when you're getting into a creative field, do not look at the front end. The front end is what I can see. The front end is, I can see the fashion show. I can see what is happening. I can see beautiful garments in every brand. But what I am not able to see is the effort that goes into it. Let me give you one small example. And people who've seen this happen will understand what I'm talking about. One lehenga, a hand embroidered lehenga of, pick up any designer, any designer. I'm not even talking about top level designers, any design. A lehenga which has to be handmade takes anything from 3 months to 6 months to make. It is that karigar, that artisan who's sitting there, and believe me, these are not machine made, haath se kaam ho raha hai, who is sitting there day and night getting that one lehenga ready. We freak out saying, "Arey, 10 lakh ka lehenga." That's the reality. It's the artisan who's working. It's that person, the karigar, who's working on it. So is the designer just going to put it on paper and say, "Arey, now the karigar"? It doesn't work like that. You have to stand there. Every little bit you have to make sure it's right. And then you become that designer. What Sunidhi would probably not have told you is, when they go to the factory, even as a designer, you're not sitting in AC offices. You're standing on the factory floor and making sure that that person who's knitting has understood what you want from him. So it is a tough field, highly underrated in terms of the amount of effort that goes into it. But if you have the passion, it's an extremely satisfying field, extremely satisfying. In NIFT, we do not offer all branches of design. I mean, I saw some questions, automobile design. No, we do not have it. I believe NID has it and MIT Pune has it, if I'm not mistaken. We do not. Interiors, we do it as accessory design. So interiors is one specialization of accessory design, but we do not do it as an interior design course. Yeah. So there are a lot of fields. Multimedia, we may do it as part of fashion communication. It's not a specialization by itself. So there are a lot of design kind of courses that we don't get into, or areas that NIFT has not gotten. So when you're looking at design also, think in terms of what are you passionate about? Choice of subject, I'm just going back one step. Choice of subjects, thumb rule. Fashion design is about clothes. Textile design is about making of material and home furnishings. Leather design is about leather products, leather footwear. And when I say leather, it's leather and leather alike. Products, footwear, clothes. Knitwear design, predominantly clothes, but there are other things also that come out of knits. So that's about, again, material. What am I missing? Fashion communication, that is ideas and concepts and graphics and UI, UX and films and everything else that links with an accessory design, which is product, hard product. So that is how we kind of, create the thumb rules. You have to know what you're passionate about. I may be very passionate about making a product in 3D, but fabric, I get a little worried about. Don't look at fabric then. Don't look at material, you look at product. So that is how when you kind of try and figure out what you want to do, you need to be able to visualize what is it that you like doing, what is it you're passionate about, and what is the end result that you see happening from your thought process. And definitely keep the glamour part of it out of it. Doesn't work, really doesn't.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much for that answer. And yes, I could see a lot of them are asking about like which one has a better scope. Like, should we go ahead in fashion design or interior design? Like they're trying to compare that does interior design has a scope in India and it has a scope in future. Should we go ahead in interior design? If you have any idea on that, if you'd like to share some insights on that.
Look, again, I'm saying what would be prominent 3 years, 4 years down the line is something you will not be able to visualize. Had COVID not come, and I'm being very kind of open about it, had COVID not come in, I don't think UI UX would be at the pinnacle that it is today. Yeah, it wouldn't be. I don't think digital graphics would be at the kind of demand that it is today. Wouldn't happen. It would have happened slowly, but the rate at which it happened stunned even us. Okay, abhi chahiye. I need people now. And we didn't have enough people to give. So what is going to be more prominent 3 years, 4 years down the line when you graduate? I can't predict. But what you're comparing is apples and oranges. You can't compare fashion design, which is clothes, and interior design, which is spaces. How are you comparing the two? I mean, if I'm visualizing a space, I don't visualize clothes in that. Yeah. When you're trying to visualize it, this is what my bedroom should look like. I don't think any of us really gets into, okay, when I wear my blue sari, I'm going to have blue, bed covers. And when I'm going to wear my pink dress, I'm going to have pink curtains. It doesn't happen that way. So it's two different things. The way you visualize interiors is very different from the way you visualize clothes. Fashion design and interior design are very different. So you need to figure out what you can actually visualize and then go forward from there.
Right, absolutely. Also, Sunidhi, like since as a student, you might have like applied for different universities or campuses, like not just NIFT, I'm talking about the different ones. So is it something that, like a lot of them are asking also that if we don't get a NIFT campus and we have to opt for some other colleges, does that impacts or, changes the career as a whole, or you think that we should actually try for NIFT and, that will hamper a lot of things? Is it something that you relate as a student while you were also preparing to, get into NIFT?
I think I heard it the other day. I was talking with some of my friends. So it's like somebody asked somebody ki, studying abroad or studying in a different city or things like that. So it's like you paying for a club membership. So NIFT, the kind of teachers that you meet, the kind of people that you meet, they all are you all have worked very hard. It's a competitive exam. It's a national exam that you've cracked. Everybody has a frame of mind. They work differently. So I think when I've come here, the kind of people I meet, other than just college, we all discuss ideas. I have friends who already have their startups. So everybody is very hardworking. And I mean, this is what I feel as a student. There are a lot. I have friends in the different colleges who are studying similar courses. But when you are, I think all my student class friends and seniors, all of us have achieved this. I mean, cracked the course and cracked the college ka exam. And when it's like a club membership, the kind of people you hang out with, and you just have to earn it. It's just that you can't buy it; you have to earn it. That's my only thing. Other than that, you can always go to other colleges. Similar, you get to. I mean, it's on you also. If I know a lot of friends from different colleges who are doing very good in life, and it's not like that. But then it's just one plus point: the kind of people and the teachers and the RCs, libraries that you go to. You learn a lot there from the teachers and friends. This is my basic thing that I feel, NIFTs and NIDs and colleges like these offer more in terms of that. Hardworking
Absolutely.
people, smart people.
And I think also ma'am did mention that, the kind of recognized degree that comes is also very important. So I think that also matters when you're taking up courses like designing. So I think Navpreet, that would help you your confusion, and you will understand it why the preference is given. But ऐसा नहीं that if you don't choose this, that your career will get stopped over there. It's of course on your complete kind of confidence and kind of efforts that you will put up, right? Okay, another similar questions that I see is here, about the opportunities which students get apart from traditional jobs after completing BDes, because some of them have this idea that seniors have been saying that it is very tough to get a job or scope in comparison to the fees, and there are not too many options that one can have after designing, to secure their career, because there are some who come from very humble background, so they have this conception that will not get a good secured job after doing this, so they don't want to opt into BDes. So ma'am, your take on this?
Job or any kind of employment is very dependent on the industry and the state of the industry. We have had years where, honestly, even an institute like NIFT has had 10 to 15% placements. Years where recession had hit really hard. Yeah, this was 2008, 2009. Really had a tough time. But it is not about your degree. It is about how much work you are putting into developing your own self as a person, your skills, your design ideas, bottom line, your portfolio.
Yeah.
If your portfolio is extremely strong, again, I'm sharing experiences from NIFT Delhi. We have had students, and you're right, we have students from extremely, I would use the word poor backgrounds. Students whose annual income of the family is 40,000, 50,000. So that's like 4,000 rupees a month. Soch ke dekho, 4,000 rupees is in today's world, nothing. But that's the kind of thing that they are surviving. They have built skills. I have had students in the past who have had, and it has been an effort for them to actually pay the fees. And what Sunidhi is talking about in terms of freelance work, etc., we have had students who've actually done freelance work to support themselves because their families cannot pay. Because it's not just about the fees, it's about living expenses in another city. So all of that is there. Is it comparable to the kind of money you get as salaries? No, it isn't. In some fields it is, in some fields it isn't. So it depends on you. What can you do after BDes? Yes, you can go for your traditional jobs. You can go for jobs which are a little different. For example, we have had students, there is this alumni of ours, Nidhi Yasha, I think, who went into costume design for television and films when that was a field not even recognized. Yeah. She's doing extremely well now. Yeah. We have other students who've gone into, the unusual kind of fields. We have students who've become fashion bloggers. We have students who are, I mean, in what is the word you, Sunidhi, correct me if I'm wrong. Insta influencers, is that right? Yeah. So we have students who are influencers, alumni who are influencers now, who are doing really well in that field. The 4 years in NIFT or any course, I'm not going to confine it to NIFT, prepares you for a world that is yours. It develops you as the person, not as, so I'm not trying to make a Sunidhi into a Bhagyashree. I'm trying to make sure that Sunidhi is the best form of Sunidhi that can exist. That she needs to recognize what her strengths are, what her weaknesses are, and then play on those strengths. That's what any college education, a good college education does for you. And that's what she was talking about when she said, it's a club. Well, I won't call it a club, but that is something that in NIFT we actually push for, that each individual can become the best form of themselves. If they're the best form of themselves, they're going to do really well wherever they are. So we have students who set up their own brands. We have students who have their own startups. I saw a question on BF Tech. Yes, BF Tech is technology. It's not design. And I'm a garment technologist. So I'm not a designer, actually. But I like to call myself a designer because I design factories. I'm a technologist who goes into factory design. So yes, I'm a designer by that logic. We have BF Tech students who are getting into photography, which is nothing related to what they've done. We have students, the question on fashion styling. You don't have to be a fashion designer to be a fashion stylist. A stylist is only putting a look together. You could be a fashion communication person. You could be an accessory design person. You could be any person, any design person who puts a look together, and you could be a fashion stylist. It is not dependent on the course at all. So what you can do is something you need to figure out. We have students, alumni who have their own startups today. Some of them who are doing technical textiles. Some of them who are developing materials for the defense forces. We have students who are Hyderabad. One of the alumni has started that, was the founder of that company that is doing those cycles, the blue colored cycles in Delhi. Wow, that's a Hyderabad B.Des student. So yes, the world is yours. In BDes, all we are doing is, or in NIFT, in any of our courses, we just get you to open your eyes. Look at the world around you. You can do whatever you like with your life. We have students who've gone into television, not as actors, but actually back-end people. We have students who are, or alumni who have done, what is it called? Food shows. We had Rocky and Mayur who were doing Highway on My Plate, if any of the students would recognize that. Mayur is an alumni of NIFT. He's done garment manufacturing technology. Now, after doing a GMT, what is he doing talking about food? He's doing that. So the 4 years of college have to be taken in that account. If you're going to take it like, okay, what is going to be my return on investment, ROI, you can't calculate. Because by the time you hit your 3rd year, you may have changed your entire thought process of what you want to do with your life. And that is what the 4 years is about. It's about understanding yourself and about what you can be best at. It's not about comparing yourself with the other person. Yes, we have students who have first jobs at 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs a year. And we have students who have their first job at 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs a year. The whole range, whole gamut. But it doesn't make those people who've got their first jobs at 4 lakhs any lesser. It just means that they are in a field which doesn't pay that much, they will develop further. You're already starting high. How much higher can you go? Yeah. So that is how it works. Don't think of it, education, as a ROI. It's not going to work. And a creative field, definitely not going to work. Because in a creative field, it's how you develop as an individual, how creative you can get as an individual. That will get you your job, and that will get you your field. And you can go into any field whatsoever after this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And before I take up last few questions that I could see regarding NIFT placements. Okay, I'll take up that question because a lot of them are asking like what kind of placements does NIFT offers, and also few questions about pursuing degree in BDes and also taking up part-time job. I'll just take up that, but before taking up last few questions, I'm launching the ending feedback poll. So the meanwhile, you are filling up this feedback poll, which is very, very important for Shiksha because we get to know your feedback. How was the entire session up till now, and how much your doubts and sessions. Of course, I know 60 minutes are not enough to take up all your queries. I still have a long list of questions that I know I can't take up because of lack of time, but I do try to take up the maximum I can to take up your queries. But we'll definitely try and come up with more sessions so that we could have more of your doubts clearing sessions or regarding design, which is not too much talked about. I know it's not very much into webinars, but we are trying to pick up these courses which you want to know directly from the faculties, from the students, their hands-on experience. So I know that this is something that really interests you all. So meanwhile, you're filling up the form. We'll quickly come to those questions about like managing part-time job along with the course, and like what all placements, ma'am, we have here.
Okay, part-time jobs, I think Sunidhi can answer that better.
Yeah.
But part-time jobs along with a full-time course in NIFT at least is tough. And that's an understatement. There will be certain periods where you have the time. So a lot of students tend to pick up these freelance projects because then they're not kind of bound by, कि रोज जाना है, हफ्ते में 4 बार जाना है kind of thing. And a lot of them tend to pick it up for extra funds. But doing a full part-time course job, for example, a BPO kind of a job, not happening. It's not possible. You have a lot of workload. In any good course, it is not just about the homework, the assignments. It is also about your own personal development. If you have to give the faculty 3 perfect sheets, work, you'll probably be doing 25 to get those 3 perfect ones, maybe a little more than that. And if the numbers come closer to the 3, so you're doing 4 and you can get 3 perfect ones, think of yourself as being really highly skilled, but initially, that's what happens. You have to do that much more. So part-time jobs is not something we would suggest. We also have certain students whose parents say, nahi, do a degree from another institute simultaneously. Again, it's not required because the NIFT degree is recognized globally. We are under an act of parliament called the NIFT Act. And you can see that on our website also, and you can kind of Google it if you like. So under the NIFT Act, the Parliament of India has given NIFT the right to give its own degrees. And these degrees are recognized by law in India and globally. So there is no problem. You don't need to do another degree along with it. You won't have the time to, actually. Yeah. So that is one. When you are, so part-time jobs, part-time courses, not really. And I think it's going to be tough. Placements, like I said, we are industry dependent. So for example, last year, if I look at 2020, placements were very low. If I'm looking at 2021, placements were better. This year, our placements have been good. where we had companies like, for example, Reliance Retail picking up, I think 40-50 students across the board. We had companies like Reliance Brands picking up a lot of people. We had Myntra picking up a lot of people, and that's across the courses. Okay. I think the highest package has gone to a student of B.Des, if I'm not mistaken, which is about 35 or 36. So year to year, that changes, the requirements change, the kind of job profiles that come into prominence change, and one can't really predict that. Yeah.
Right.
So it depends on how the industry works. I cannot tell you 4 years down the line how the placements are going to be. I just can't. Impossible. Yeah. Overseas, yes, we do have companies that come from abroad. In VFTech, Jordan-based companies, Oman-based companies, Bangladesh-based companies, Vietnam, Indonesia-based companies, which are looking at production people. So yes, they do get opportunities. We also have certain companies, for example, Dubai-based certain retail companies that come in. And these are ones that come regularly. Other than that, every year, Ika Duka unusual wali company also kind of comes in, which is, so yes, so overseas job placements are also a possibility. Depends from year to year, course to course, what kind of job placements there would be. But overseas job placements, ज़्यादा हमारी production or retail में. So BFTech, MFTech, and your MFM, your Masters in Fashion Management. That is where bulk of your overseas comes in.
Right.
Also because a lot of the countries have this work permit system that doesn't allow them to take undergrads. They need to take postgrads. So I think that is where that kind of thing comes in. But yes, we do have overseas thing also.
Right. And I think a lot of you had the similar question that ma'am has already answered. Quickly coming to you, Sunidhi, like some of the students who are like looking ahead of getting into BDes courses or NIFT, they have this query that, do you need to decide the specializations at the beginning during the admission process itself? Because they have this confusion that they do not know anything in detail. So do you have to decide at the admission itself, or later on you can shift or something that can happen?
Yeah, at NIFT, we have to decide during our counseling only. Other than that, there's this another thing, but that, yeah, I mean, in general, mostly 98% of the people have to decide it in their before joining only, which campus they're going to go to and which which major they'll pursue during their counseling only. And then there's this one more thing that you can change your campus, and with that also, but that happens in your second year, and that too for just 1 or 2 or 3 people max, if they've scored very well, if they're topping their batch, and then they get to choose. If, I mean, for example, a person from NIFT Hyderabad can go to NIFT Mumbai or Delhi, or wherever a seat is vacant. But that is very that does not really happen a lot.
So that does not announce
mostly
for like
you just
everyone.
have to top your whole batch.
Yeah.
And then if you're scoring very well and with those things, but other than that, you always have to choose it in your first year only, before you're joining.
And like, if choosing amongst all the campuses, if you have to rate, like, this is like one of the best out of all the campuses in NIFT, so what would be that one? Because I know they are asking this question, that which campus would be the better one. They are like 17 or 18 campuses across India.
There's no real
cost preference,
Okay, so there's no real, this thing given that Kannur is the best or something else is the best. But then there's this basics. All the campuses have similar study material, and whatever we study, exams and papers and everything is similar. But then, you can always read about it on the internet, which campus and whatever works for you the best on the internet.
Right, absolutely. So,
I think ma'am can tell better.
Ma'am, if you would like to suggest on that.
Okay, the reason I was laughing is because, yes, this ranking business gets a little too much. you will find this ranking happening in, I think, all major kind of magazines, and all major education-based websites have some ranking systems, right? With due respect to Shiksha, the ranking system doesn't work. It really doesn't. Because the ranking system for most of them is based on the information that we receive. Okay?
Yeah.
So yes, within NIFT, I have 17 campuses. There are some campuses like Delhi started in 1986. It will have the advantage of the senior most faculty. It will have the advantage of the largest resource center. It will have the advantage of a lot of things. It has the disadvantage of one of the smallest campus areas because we are right in the middle of the city. Yeah. So we have about, so there's Delhi, and then we had the next 6 happening, which is Kolkata, etc., whatever. Then we had some more happening, and then we have our baby 2 ones, which have started the last 2 years, which is Srinagar, and no, Srinagar was 4 years ago, and then Panchkula that started 2 years ago. Every campus has its advantage. Every campus has its disadvantage. But the bottom line, and this is something over the last 2 years that we have managed, that it does not matter if you are studying in X campus or Y campus, you have access to information, to faculty resource, to other resources from other campuses as well. It's not as if Delhi has everything. It's not as if Hyderabad will have everything. So Hyderabad may need faculty in a particular area that Delhi may have. Delhi may require some faculty in certain area, which maybe Chennai has, or Mumbai has, or Bengaluru has. And that sharing of resource. So it's a solid resource we're talking about when we talk in terms of 17 campuses. Plus for BDes, a very important integral part of what they're doing is a craft cluster. Yeah. So the craft part of it. Now, the minute I have access to 17 states, that's that many crafts that the students have access to. That's that many crafts that the students can get familiar with. So I could be studying in NIFT Bengaluru and going to, I don't know, Dharwad to study some crafts there, which is Karnataka. Or I may be going to, I don't know, Ahmednagar, which is Maharashtra. I may be going to Hyderabad. Yeah. So there is a lot of sharing of resource that tends to happen. Rankings work very well on paper. It doesn't work in reality. Yeah. In reality, bottom line, what is it you want to do? Where is it that you can go and your parents are willing to send you? What is it that you will benefit from that location? And can you bring that back to where you are? So it doesn't matter whether you're studying in a Shillong or a Kannur, which is what we call our, I mean, the term that has been used, I think in one of the magazines only, is remote campuses. They bring in that kind of, you know, cultural thing into. And of course, our students keep mingling for Converge, so that we have this inter-NIFT festival once a year. So the students coming from all the campuses coming together. Huge fun. But yeah, so when you're talking in terms of rankings, let's not look at rankings. It's not about, it's really not about where you are going to be, because it's centralized placements. It's centralized internships. Everything is centralized. Irrespective of whether you're studying in Kannur or Shillong or Srinagar or Gandhinagar or Jodhpur, you're going to have access to the same companies. And a lot of companies, in fact, today, there are companies that have actually turned around and said, don't give us the metro kids. Give us graduates from some of the smaller campuses, because they are a little more grounded. Right. Don't give us students from or alumni from the Delhi, Mumbai. No. That's fine. So once the placements are centralized, it doesn't matter. The rank doesn't matter. You get access to everything equally. So it doesn't really.
Absolutely. And I think we are running out of time. I wish I could take all of your queries, but if there is anything left, I know there are a lot of questions that are left, so you can reach out to us on shiksha.com. And I've also shared the Shiksha page link for both the campuses. In fact, we have all the campuses, 17 campuses pages on shiksha.com. So related to any particular campus, you can always reach out to us, or you can always drop an email also. I'm also putting up my email ID. So if you have to ask something particularly, you can always connect with us. And the panelists are also available on LinkedIn. I've already tagged them. So you can reach out to them for any query. If you have anything to ask about NIFT admission, so you can reach out to ma'am as well, right? So probably I'll look to have more sessions on design. I know there are a lot of queries that you might have, and one session is not just enough. So, but I'll try to fix up some more sessions on design, because this is something which is which is getting popular, and there are a lot of queries coming in, pouring in, after those traditional professional courses like engineering and medical. So now the focus has shifted, so we'll try and get hold of more such sessions. But thank you, Bhavna ma'am, thank you, Sunidhi. It was a pleasure talking to both of you. We had so much of information pouring in. I wish I could grab all, but due to lack of time, we have to limit the webinar here. But I think the session was useful to all of them. They had so many queries that we could answer. There were some which we could not, but we'll definitely try and come up with all those, right? So thank you, everyone. Wish you all the best. And yes, we'll try and conduct more sessions on designing. That's a promise that I'll definitely conduct more sessions, right? So yes, thanks. Thank you, Shreya, for that compliments. Ma'am, you are getting a lot of answers. Sunidhi has been getting so many questions for her experience. So we'll definitely get these two again on our sessions for sure in coming times.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel.